Hello and welcome everyone to episode 4 of the Diversity Report. I have with me, well, first off, I am Jaymie White, and I have with me my podcast partner, as always, Ray Hayes. Ray, thanks for joining us. Joining me.
Jamie, thank you. Introduction into the podcast, so to say, the new revamped podcast. So welcome.
I think it's always once we get past that introduction, I think it gets like better because then we can flow normally.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
it's just that first part. But no, yep. So this is episode 4 of the Ray Hayes Initiative, aka the Diversity Report. But nah, I think this is a really good idea, and I can't wait to see us move. Continue with this. So today I'm gonna pass it over to you because I know that you've been taking a look at some things and want to get a conversation going around some things that may be or that will be beneficial for small businesses and diverse businesses alike. So I'm going to pass it to you,
Right.
and let's start the conversation, and we'll talk about it.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Jamie. I want to first start off with a question. I want you to
Okay.
give me an honest answer.
Okay.
Okay. Say, for instance, you're in a car accident. Go to the hospital. Like you're hurt really bad. Go to the hospital. The nurse or the doctor tells you that we have a software or artificial intelligence app or program that can go about predicting your symptoms, and it could possibly predict if you'll pass away within your 24 hours here at the hospital, or whether will you be readmitted to the hospital for the same injuries. Would you be interested in testing it out? Would you say, "Oh no, that's far fetched. That couldn't happen"? What would be your reaction to hearing something like that?
Um, how bad is that? Like, are we talking like, is this a serious like
Yeah,
accident?
serious accident. Yeah,
And
serious.
and they're asking me as I'm on my deathbed, hey,
Well, you're
you want to
not.
test out to see
Okay,
if you
you're
got
not.
24 hours to live? Is that where we're going?
I'm not. You're not dying, but you're hurt pretty bad. You're still able
Okay.
to communicate. You're still coherent. Able to, I mean, you still have
Let's
your
not take
sensibility.
an extreme example like that for like you got 24 hours to live. Basically, you're hurt, bringing you in. Hey, you want to take a look at this AI? Let's see. Based on your current injuries, how long you have to live, basically, right?
Right, right.
Okay. Do I have to pay anything extra for it?
No, it's free of charge.
Oh yeah, I mean yeah. Take a look because they may catch something else that I'm not aware of uh through this test. So yeah,
Right.
I would test it out. Yeah, especially if it's free. Sure.
And I agree wholeheartedly with you. But I think a lot of older individuals, and in particular senior citizens, may have some worries because they have some worries about any form of technology. However, as of now, Google has gone about, I want to say inventing because they didn't invent it, but they're testing out an AI that can predict whether a hospital patient will pass away within 24 hours. That's that's the state of the art. It's kind of mind blowing because to see where AI has come to is something we saw in Back to the Future or something you would see in the Jeffersons. It's it's like this technology is here now and it's here to
You
stay
mean
and
you
it's
mean the
steadily advancing.
Jetsons? You mean the Jetsons?
The Jeffersons, the
I'm like, yeah, I'm like the Jetsons.
The Jeffersons definitely had nothing like that.
Yeah,
The Jeffersons. Yeah, the Jeffersons. But no, but this new Google AI, it was developed. It was developed. It was not developed, like I said, it wasn't developed by Google, but it was developed by a team of researchers from the University of Chicago, Stanford University, and University of California in San Francisco.
hmm
And what's kind of creepy about this AI, in my opinion, is that based off all the testing, as of now, the predictions were 95% correct.
Why is that creepy? That's great.
Because I wouldn't think a software that was just developed recently will be 95% correct.
we
I
don't
was
know.
thinking it'd be some
I'm pretty sure they've
shortcomings.
been. I'm pretty sure before they got to this point, they've been doing a lot of testing before it got to like live testing. You know, on like humans.
But but there's the thing though. I mean, it's testing whether it can determine whether uh whether you'll be readmitted for the length of the patient's stay in the hospital, and like I said, the chance of them coming back. So it's kind of like you have to throw a lot of variables into this AI. I mean, the algorithms have to like you have to throw everything at it, in which they did. The predictions have been 95% correct, and that's to
That's great.
me. First, how can you throw everything at it just yet? Because you don't know what's going to come into the hospital, who's going to come in, what can happen. So it's like it's kind of mind-boggling the fact that the predictions have been 95% correct as of yet.
Like
I
you
know.
said, I mean, you started out perfectly when you were like, I mean, we've come a long way, like with this technology. Like this is we're here now.
It's true, true, true.
I mean, and it's
But,
we're at the point where like we've gotten to the point with technology where I mean that's it. Like it has to be 90%. Like well, maybe not 90, but it has to be over 75% nowadays. Like
yeah.
there is no we did something and there's 50%. Like no, this is where we're at now. If it doesn't meet that criteria, it's not ready to launch. You know.
But that's the thing. Like back when we were kids, you had softwares and technology that were nowhere near that high. The predictions were not that correct, and they were still out there, even
Yeah,
with the
but like
video games or
yeah,
cell phones or
yeah,
something like
yep.
that.
Cell phones. I was going to go with like remember when Google Maps first came out and it was ridiculously wrong, like half the
Yeah,
time. I mean
yeah,
that's what they've done. They've built that foundation to where now they can know your exact pinpoint location. I'm using Google Maps as an example of advanced technology, but now they know your exact location and know exactly where you need to be and at what. Now it can even predict how long it's going to take you to get there, like an
right.
exact time while you're going. Like that's not how Google Maps started at all. Like, I remember when you take that and if you were close, if you were close, you'd be like, okay, great. But I mean, that's where we're at now, and it's 95%. I do think that's high, but I don't think it's unexpectedly high.
I mean, I feel where you're coming from, but I mean, it's not. I'm not saying that. Okay, I'm not expecting it to be that high. I was just surprised. Let's say that.
I mean, I'm not
That
surprised
was.
either with that. I'm not surprised at 95%. If I saw that number, I'd be like, that's good. That's where we should be.
I
And
love your optimism, dude, thing.
I don't think it's optimism. I think it's more so like that's just where technology has gotten. Now, obviously, not like I said. I think 90. I will agree, 95% is high. I'm not surprised, but I think that we've gotten to a part where if something's testing like this,
Hmm.
when we're dealing with lives, I'm expecting 80% or higher.
Well, true. When you say that, when it's dealing with live, yes, you are right. 95% is okay, but I would be more comfortable it was 99.9%.
Right, right, right. No, no, yeah,
Because I
I'm
mean,
with that.
like you said, we're dealing with people's lives, so I don't need that 5% is not correct. I don't need that.
I think
I don't need that at all.
I agree with you on that. And I do think it'll get to that, but I do think that in an instance like this, like if you got a loved one on the line, I think 95% you're willing to take that chance.
Well, true, true.
So, and I
And,
think
go ahead.
no, no, I was just gonna say like I mean it's like I got an operation and it's 95% successful. You're gonna take that like that. That's a lot better than a 75% successful. Not 99%, but like it's something where you'll feel comfortable moving forward with that. Like okay,
I'm cool with it. I feel
yeah,
what you're saying.
yeah.
But question: how do you feel as though this will like with artificial intelligence? And I mean, not just in the medical field, but in general, like in small business. You being a small business owner,
Yep.
how do you think this will change the game for small businesses within the next 10 years?
Next 10 years, gee. So I
Yeah.
don't actually had this conversation with somebody the other day. So I don't think anybody can predict 10 years out. But what I will say, I mean, what was Netflix? Did Netflix exist 10 years ago? Like there's a ton of companies that exist now that didn't exist 10 years ago that have revolutionized how we do things. Uber,
Instagram.
yeah, Uber is another
Uber,
one.
yeah, I know
Yeah,
Uber. Uber, definitely,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. And so there's no way I can predict what's gonna happen 10 years from now when it comes to artificial intelligence. There's just absolutely no way. But what I will say is that I do think that there are hints to suggest that for small business that primarily use all small businesses use technology, but when it comes to like connecting with customers, business development, finding funding, etc., I think that technology is going to make it a lot simpler and a lot more efficient to again connect with the customers and look at things such as look at opportunities such as like funding and maybe a conference here or there, or finding out connecting with people inside your industry to help to partner with to grow your business. I think that that's going to be there's going to be a lot more opportunities in those areas. I also
mm-hmm.
foresee different industries coming into existence. When I'm talking about, we talked about self driving, automatic. I don't want to call it automatic driving, but self driving vehicles, right? So I do think
Right.
that with that technology, that's only going to expand the opportunities for small business and that have to deal with AI. Um, so I do see different, opportunity or more opportunities arising with AI. Now, with that being said, I also see AI replacing old jobs. So
Yeah,
anything that you're
especially
doing,
customer service.
yeah, anything that you're doing currently that I don't know about. Depends some a lot of aspects of customer service. I agree. Anything that you're doing right now that's repetitive, like that's probably going to be eliminated in 10 years. Like anything. Um, but I do think that there will be new opportunities. Because of that. Have you played or seen anything about like Detroit Become Human? Have you seen anything on that?
Is that the video? Are you talking
Yeah,
about
it's a
the
video
video
game.
game?
Yep, it's a video game.
Yeah, I've seen some trailers about the game, and I've read some reviews about it, but I haven't like actually seen gameplay. So I
Okay.
don't know much.
Well,
I don't know
let's
like the
yeah,
details about it.
less about gameplay and more about the story. Basically, you have like robots or whatever with artificial intelligence that come in and replace like the majority of jobs, and like according to the storyline, like it's like a 30% unemployment rate or whatnot. Basically they're just talking about like with the advancement of technology and AIs and robots and whatnot, they're going to replace the majority of what we're doing. So I don't see what's it called um I can't think of anything, but I don't see apocalypse. There it is. I don't see like an apocalypse of robots taking over just yet. Um, maybe 50 years from
Nah,
now, but I don't see that happening just yet. But I do
right.
think that we are past the point of the beginning stages of
Yeah.
that type of
'Cause
technology coming in.
have you heard of the new technology that Google is building called Duplex? Google Duplex.
Maybe what does it do?
It's an AI system designed to make human sounding voice calls on behalf so as to automate things like booking restaurant tables and hair appointments. So if I call somewhere and it could be a machine, but that machine will adjust the way I'm talking, and it'll be just like a humanoid like voice messaging machine.
Um, I mean, I not putting that way, but I have heard of Google doing something similar, so it's probably the same thing. But
Yeah,
I'm aware. But like yeah, like or for like booking restaurants, I haven't heard it put that way. But yeah, that's I mean, man, that's where we're going, and there's
yeah. I mean,
nothing could stop
go
us.
ahead.
Yeah, that's
Because when you hear people complaining about uh, calling into a certain cable company or a phone company, and your phone calls are being sent to India, and you're talking to people from India, and it's a language barrier at times, and people are not happy with the service. If you give a small business company, okay, instead of outsourcing your phone calls, use Google Duplex. They'll answer all your phone calls, cheaper labor, and the fact that you have a humanoid voice message machine that can talk to people, that can understand where they're coming from, communicate with them properly without an attitude, that would be perfect. And with that being said, I mean, I think that will revolutionize a lot of, I mean, Like
Yeah, if you
a
could.
lot of companies, a lot of firms. I mean, as far as like the cable companies, people being more like happy with their service. I think they could revolutionize the game if it comes to that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of cool to see that how AI is steadily growing and changing, and just technology in general. And great to see what's going to happen in the near future and how it revolutionizes small businesses,
Yeah, I think
just everything.
yeah, and just to piggyback off of that real quick, would be which something that I didn't realize until fairly recently within this past month. Can't remember exactly when, but for example, like the jobs lost in the automotive industry, right?
Hmm.
I found out that 80% of the jobs lost were lost not because of outsourcing, but due to automation.
Wow.
And yeah, and I gotta look that up to find out like exactly where he got that particular statistic from. But if you consider the fact that that number happened, but we're still at record lows in terms of unemployment. Now we're at also at people don't know this, we're at fairly high. I don't know if we're at record highs, but we're at high people who are not in the workplace, meaning that they're not looking for a job and they're also not hired. I think that's like around 20% ish. Um, but we're at record lows when it comes to unemployment, and we also have a group of people that, and we're also at pretty record at highs when it comes to people or companies looking for employees. So I think that the challenge when it comes to AI, specifically when we're talking about automating these processes, is that there are going to be jobs, but we're gonna have to figure out a way to correctly and effectively train people to
Yeah,
go
skill
into
hand.
other industries. Yeah, because the jobs are still out there. Even today, there are a ton of jobs that need to be filled, but people don't have the skill sets to do them. So we have a ton of jobs that need to be filled. We have a huge, 20% of people who are still out there who are looking, who are not looking for jobs, but could be employed. So
Hmm.
just figuring out an effective training program to transition people from one industry to the next will probably be, and that may be an industry in itself. If somebody can perfect that, so I mean, this is going to be there's going to be a lot of opportunities. I feel even with AI automating processes, we just kind of have to figure out an effective way to utilize our talent pool. Plus, our population is going to drop, right? The baby boomers
Yeah.
was a huge population, and millennials we're not going to be that big, which means that the unemployment that baby boomers had to or are dealing with currently, like that's just not going to be an issue because if anything, we're going to need more. I don't know if this is a controversial topic or not. I'm not trying to be controversial here, but in America, we're going to need more immigrants to come in and fill these jobs. Based on their skill set. So I mean, just looking at the numbers, like this is AI. We're automating processes that we probably need to be automated as we segue into a new type of economy that is going to still have job openings. It'll just require a different skill set. So
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Man, and that sums it up. I mean, that definitely sums it up. So, I mean, it is interesting to see where it goes to, and how it grows. So, let's move on
yep.
before. I know we're not on the podcast real long, but let's move on. I wanted to touch on the recent Supreme Court ruling, and
Which one? They've done like three.
there's tons of them.
Yeah.
There's definitely tons of them coming out.
Yeah.
But the one with about when the Supreme Court ruled that union workers or government workers who are represented by a union but choose not to join do not have to pay to cover the cost of collective bargaining. That's a game changer. Uh, Over 40 years ago, there was a ruling that union workers had to, and even non-union workers had to pay union dues, even if you chose not to be represented by the union based off the collective bargaining agreement. So now you don't have to go out paying the union, and you have some people who are in particular in the union heads are pissed off about it.
Yeah, I bet they are.
Looking at my union now, when this ruling came out and the news broke, I got several emails from my union officials about this ruling and how they're going to fight. And just remember, the unions are the backbones of the United States, and
Yep.
how they help you bargain your wages and all this. Like, they sent out tons of emails that day saying that, okay, we're going to fight this. And they were, I mean, rightfully so, they're pissed off. But then you had some people who were happy about it. You had people saying, now unions will now be forced to be more explicit to its workers by showing their actual need, which can be true, because sometimes some people complain about, what is the union actually doing for me? I'm about to lose my job, or somebody at work is bothering me, but I don't have anybody from the union coming to help. I'm calling. Nobody's returning my calls. You have people who are saying this. And so now people are saying, okay, now we're going to put some heat on you. Now you have to show me why I should pay you all to represent me. Are you really going to do your job at representing me to the fullest extent? And a lot of unions are already bracing for this, for the Supreme Court ruling. I mean, granted, they didn't know what was going to happen, but they were bracing for the unexpected.
Makes
So you
sense.
had the nation's largest teachers union, the National Education Association, recently cut its budget by $55 million on the expectation that hundreds of thousands of members would defect. So
Wow.
they were already ready for it, and that's just the teachers union. Now you have the big unions in Illinois, in New York, Iowa. They're embracing for that as well. Because check it out. I don't know if you know this. Okay, across the board from Illinois to the Iowa Council, the AFCME, Iowa Council 61, they overwhelmingly have 83% support among covered workers.
Okay.
They cover 83% of union workers or whatever, right? But only 29% of those workers are dues paying members.
Interesting.
So this will affect a lot of union heads in these big cities. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with it, and you have people already saying, okay, unions were all political. They were only used to get so and so's family member in, or help someone win an election or something like that. And a lot of conservatives said that. So they were applauding the ruling, but you had people, like I said, they're not happy about this. So I mean, with that being said, Jaymie, what are your thoughts about all this happening?
Um, as a small business owner, just like period.
Period, but also as a small business owner.
Yeah, because I have different views. So as a small business owner, and I'm just again not trying to be controversial. It's just strictly economics here, right? Most small businesses aren't in favor of unions. The reason being because they drive up the cost, right? Usually, if you're in a union, you say you gotta, instead of paying me $10, you gotta pay me $15 because I'm in a union. So most small business owners are like, I'd rather you not be in a union because I can pay you less, and it isn't anything along the lines of I'm paying you less because I want to pay you less, but it's more so, I'm making a quarter, I'm making 250,000. My profit margin is 10% or whatnot. I just can't afford to pay you more than this is just an example. But I can't afford to pay you, the $20 an hour or whatever that a union worker may cost. I can only pay you $10 an hour, right? As I'm
Right.
growing my business over the next 3 years. So that's kind of, from a small business owner, that's kind of the general take, right? Just more or less, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me specifically, so I feel as if there's a lot of America that we're continuing to push, that was created 50, 60, 70, 100 years ago, that we need to take a look at and figure out a better way to do things. It's not a shot at the unions. That's not saying the unions are good or bad. I just think that like one of the big and easiest things to look at is education, right? I think we can all agree education needs to be revamped from bottom to top to bottom, because how we're doing education right now is it worked 100 years ago, but it's not working now. Um, and I think that when we're talking about unions and things like that, I think that was something that was absolutely necessary during the Industrial Revolution. I mean, the things they had to deal with child labor, to unsafe environments, to wage that was just extremely unacceptable, to, I mean, voting rights, and just when your boss could come in and say you vote for this guy or you're fired, like it was just ridiculous. So that was something that was absolutely necessary as a protection for the worker 100 years ago. Now we've evolved to something different, good or bad. That's up to the listener to decide. But we're something different now, and we need to figure out what works for today's employee. And to be completely honest, I mean, I've been running a small business, for my entire work life, if you will. So I honestly don't know what that looks like. Um, but I do know that this this ruling, it is what it is. But I think that this should be a starting point for us to take a look at employees and kind of figure out what we need to do for them moving forward.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
And also that,
yeah, I'm not
yeah,
sure if
I'm sorry.
yeah, I'm just not sure if the way that the unions operate currently is the best fit right now. Um, yeah, that's kind of how I feel. But again, I'm more so like for example, I know education, like we need to revamp that completely. I know employees, like kind of how the union piece works. Like, and you kind of talked about it as far as like what are they exactly doing? Which I mean, we know from a basic what they're doing. Obviously we're not saying they're not doing anything, but just kind of a a different way to present that based off of what we're dealing with now.
And I think this will force some unions, not all, to be force them to become more visible and really explain to people, hey, this is what we do. This is why you pay us, and this is why this is what we can do to help you if you're in need. And with that, I think some people may come. I mean, as far as say, I'm not going to stop paying my union dues, but you're still going to have that small percentage of people who say, okay, if I stop paying these dudes, that's more money coming back to
Yeah,
me
quick question.
from my check.
Do you
From my
pay?
check.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So they get more money if they don't pay union dues. Quick question on that. So you pay an annual fee,
No, I pay
a
it every
monthly?
check. Every check. My number of hours you
Oh,
work,
every
the
two
more money you pay
weeks.
to me.
Oh, okay.
So it's every day. I mean,
So,
a certain amount comes out every check I get. My union dues come out.
so is it basically like how you're paying it is basically similar to like health insurance?
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah,
Like, 'cause you got car
certain
insurance, let's
amount comes out.
insurance. Let's say insurance, 'cause you got car insurance, you got home insurance, health insurance, and then you got workers insurance, basically.
Right, right. Yeah, that's a yeah. That's an easy way to explain. Yes, it is.
Okay.
I mean, and it is beneficial, but I see when it comes to okay, if you're working a job where you're not making that much money, but then you have union dues coming out your check too. That sucks for some people
Yeah.
because they want all their money. I mean, I want all my money. So you're giving me the option of saying, okay, I don't have to pay you, but you still have to represent me. A lot of people are not paying. But now it's up to the unions to how are they going to go about. Are they going to go about cutting fees, or I mean, are they going to go about fixing their budget, knowing that okay, some of these people are going to defect, and we're not going to go about getting money from so many people anymore. How are they going to react to this? Because you already have a lot of governors, in different states, and in particular, Illinois. Governor Warner wants to make Illinois a right to work state, where they'll get away with all unions. So you have those governors who are saying, okay, this is good. Now let's reintroduce the idea of right to work states, and that means that plumbers, laborers, engineers, they won't make as much anymore.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I wouldn't say get rid of unions. Now, I don't think that's the answer. I think if people want to
But
collective bargaining, people want to bargain in a collective, they should be able to, especially if they're workers. But uh, yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that part. But yeah, because it's weird that would happen because one of the arguments for health insurance is that the reason why they've implement Republicans, as far as I'm aware, the reason why they implemented the new health insurance policies for small businesses is so that small businesses could could bargain in a group to get the best price. So it's odd that they're in support of something like that, collective bargaining for small businesses for health insurance, but not for like workers. And they're trying to get the best price for an hourly wage. That's odd, but okay,
but I
okay,
wanted to point out that the Supreme Court justices ruled in their ruling. They stated that the fees violate the free speech rights of a non-member by compelling them to subsidize private speech on matters of substantial public concern.
okay. That's a
So
different issue. Okay,
yeah, yeah. So that's why they filed for a ruling on this matter. That's why some of them sided with getting rid of this 40-year-old ruling. And hey, non-members are not. They don't have to pay you all. It's not right. So hey, I mean, I mean, it's hard to say, but it is what it is as of now. We'll see where this goes. But I know a lot of union officials and people who are members in the union are pissed off, but a lot of people aren't pissed off. They're kind of happy about it.
okay.
Before we end, Jamie,
I can
because
see
I
that.
know we've been on for a while, but before we end, I wanted to bring up the idea. Well, not. I'm not gonna say idea. That's a bad choice of words. But we talk about a lot about diversity. And I know it's a big jump from unions and all that, but we talk a lot about diversity, right?
Yep.
And I read an article recently, and it stated that talking about the author of the article, or the journalist, or whatever, said diversity is a cliche word, and how we talk about how we want diversity, we need a variety of different people in our workspace, but when it comes to actually diversity, actually working at an office space or at a university, it's not there. So say for instance you go to a university and they claim they're so diverse and all that. When you walk into the cafeteria, you have one section where there's all white students. You have another section where there's all black students. So is everybody just self-segregated themselves?
Yeah.
So how can you say you're so diverse when nobody is working together or talking together or communicating? It's just an idea on paper that, okay, we have a variety of different people at our school. And she talked about how we should get rid of the word and focus on making it the idea of implementing the culture, I guess, of diversity. What do you feel about that? Do you think there's a need, or are you tired of hearing people saying, okay, we need to get rid of the word? Because touchy subject, I'm not going to, go like well endowed on it, but even the N word, you have people always saying, okay, we should get rid of the N word. Is diversity becoming a word? The idea of it's just a word, but should it be a form of culture? So we just say we need to include people in this culture. Would you advocate for that, or how do you feel about that?
Hmm. So that's a lot there. That's a loaded gun question right there.
Sorry about that.
No. In terms of, I mean that's the age old question, right? How do you successfully implement a culture, right?
Right.
And if I mean hell, I mean if you can figure that out, you're a billionaire.
Yeah.
How to successfully? So and I think that question, how to successfully implement a culture, it goes beyond diversity. So let's start there. So it's not just diversity. How do I implement a culture in my company that has everybody wanting to sell more, or has everybody wanting to, be more cost effective, or has everybody wanting to, whatever your mission statement is, like how that is always the question. Now, specifically for diversity, I think so. It's I say it's a loaded gun because there is no. The simplest answer is you can't make people be friends, if that makes sense. Like you can't make
Right.
people hang out with one another. If you go into a spot and that self segregation, like you go into a spot and all the black people are hanging out together, all the white people are hanging out together, and yada 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 here and there. I think that there are ways to help out with that. I do think you can create ways to help with that, but people are gonna hang out with who they like, and
Yeah. Who they feel comfortable with.
yeah, and I mean if for a black person, I mean I'm just being general here, but for a black person, if it's a black person, fine. If it's a white person, fine. It's if it's both, what it would fine. I don't think so. Diversity has become. I understand the negative connotation it's gotten. I don't know if I said it on a podcast before, but I've heard. I haven't done any research on this particular piece, but I've heard that you know people always say Miss is for an unmarried woman, and then Mrs. is for a married woman. Why don't men have that? And the answer is they did have that actually. Mister was for a married man, and Master was for an unmarried
Yeah.
man. But the connotation of Master became really, really bad, right? And I think we can all, yeah, whole slavery. That that's why you don't call another man Master anymore. So a word can become, yeah, the connotation of a word can become to the point where it becomes toxic. I don't think, me personally, I don't think diversity has gotten to that point, but I can understand why people would have a negative, feeling towards the word diversity and how people are trying to subsidize that with other things such as instead of saying the word diversity, we need to, do these things that make the culture more inclusive when it's like, well, they're the same thing, but I understand you having a negative, feeling towards diversity because of how it's gotten. So say all that to say, implementing a culture that is diverse or inclusive is extremely hard, and I understand that for that top article, she's saying let's not use diversity, let's actually implement it. In my opinion, she's saying the exact same thing that diversity is meant to be, and diverse. I mean, regardless of if you decide to use the word diversity or say let's all become inclusive or let's all create a culture that's open for everyone, I mean, it's still going to be hard. You're still dealing with the exact same issues, and you're right. And it's like implementing diversity is hard. Implementing inclusion, an inclusive environment is hard. Implementing, however she has defined it, when it comes to culture, is going to be hard as well because they're all trying to do the same thing.
Yeah. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Just listen. I mean, we shouldn't focus on trying to eliminate a word because
Right.
regardless of what anyone says, that word is always going to be there. I mean,
Right.
you can't just going to eliminate it from
Yeah.
the Hebrew
Let's call it
vocabulary.
something
That's not
else.
going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. You can call
Huh?
it. I mean, let's get rid of diversity, and she can. We'll let that person create her own term, or her own word for it. That's
Yeah.
fine. It's still going to be hard. We're still dealing with the same issues.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you want to say not use the word, then just say inclusion. I
Yeah.
mean, I know a lot of people are saying that. If you want to include people, fine and dandy. But the idea of diversity versus culture, I mean, a word versus culture. That's. I mean, you have to go into the hearts of people, and a word won't go into the hearts. The people who run that business or the school, have to be willing to commit to the ideal, the philosophy behind the word diversity or inclusion.
Yeah, or whatever.
And if they do that, then I think a lot more people would be happy. And disregard the fact that people in lunchrooms are not hanging out. That's not to be worried about. You hang out, like you said, who you want, who you feel comfortable with. But if you include everybody in the fact that everybody is willing to work together and not disrespect one another, and we're not just getting people here or hiring people based off the color of their skin, based off the content of their character is what most importantly counts. If we're doing that, then that's great. But just saying, okay, get rid of that word, and that will happen, that wouldn't be the case.
Yeah, no, and just one more thing to add that let's remove diversity and inclusion entirely in this situation, right? Just completely. We're not talking about diversity and inclusion right now. We're talking about we're going from one culture to another culture, whatever that may be. Don't care what you're focusing on. You're going from one company culture to another company culture. That is extremely hard to change, whatever you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think that's something that people within diversity and inclusion sometimes don't consider, in my opinion, right? Is that you're trying to change the culture of a company, and I mean, that can take years, a lot of years, because people are used to doing something one way, and you're telling them, "Hey, do it a new way." And there's always going to be pushback. I don't care what it is. It's always going to be pushback. You implement a new payment system, and people are going to complain about it because they had a old payment system that they were using, and it didn't work, but it worked fine enough, right? So you're implementing this new payment system, and now there's new issues that they got to deal with, and they're not going to be in favor of it. So whatever you're changing in a company that's going to be company wide, like there's going to be issues. People aren't going to be on board. People will be on board. Like there's always going to be issues to kind of do that, and that just comes along with it. And diversity and inclusion is no different. It is what it is. So
Yeah. No, I think you summed it up perfectly. And on that note, we're gonna go about ending the podcast, and
yep.
definitely want to thank everybody for checking us out. Jaymie, you go ahead and share your few words if you had anything else to say as
No,
well.
I don't really have any words really. I forgot to say, make sure that you like, subscribe, share the video, and comment if you like what we're talking about, and then also check us out at suppliertnews.com, which we'll have the link in the description below. So yeah, like Ray said, thanks for our time, and see everyone really soon.
On the flip side, I guess.
On the flip side, yep.